Hello everyone, and welcome to my pedagogical creed presentation. My creed is formed by values and beliefs coming from personal and professional experiences, both positive and negative. I will start off by explaining what my values are and where they come from. My values are play, positive interactions, listening, genuineness, inclusion, respect, and kindness. Play comes mainly from my childhood, as my mum used to play with me a lot. She was an early years teacher, and I used to visit her at the nursery many times as a child. This value has been reinforced by this degree, as it gave me the opportunity to explore play in more depth and from different theoretical perspectives, which deepened my understanding of its benefit and impact on children's development. This value has also been reinforced by my personal and professional life experiences. The first through my niece growing up, which allowed me to see the knowledge gained through the degree in practice. The second through placement and work in different early years settings, which allowed me to experience the reality, which resulted to be very different from theory. I put positive interactions and listening together as I believe they are connected to each other and coming from similar experiences. Through the degree, I had the opportunity to study them from different points of view, not only from the UK, but from a variety of different countries. This made me realize that these values are not only related to children, but encompass parents, members of staff, and everyone that works within the setting and outside. Genuineness is an interesting one because I can't exactly pinpoint where it comes from. But when I came across it in the SEND module, something clicked and I realized genuineness to be what I was looking for. Interestingly, I then discovered to be linked to McIntyre's idea of truthfulness as a requirement for practice. And if for practice we intend a socially established cooperative human activity, then genuineness becomes connected to positive relationships, which might be why I couldn't place its origin. These values are also being reinforced by a negative experience in a nursery where the staff changed their behavior when talking to parents without telling them the whole truth. I put inclusion, respect, and kindness together as I believe there's a connection between them, although coming from different experiences. Kindness comes from my childhood, as my mum always put great emphasis on being kind to people of different ages, ability, religion, and ethnicities. If you're kind to people, means you respect them, which is why I believe they are connected. These values have been reinforced by me coming to the UK, as I had the opportunity to meet people from around the world and to expand my knowledge on other cultures, which changed the view on my own culture. Most of my values seems to share a common feature, which is the contrast between theory and practice. This is why my creed's aim is to create genuine changes for new social realities. I will start doing this by analyzing my most important value, which is play. Play is a term commonly used but unclearly defined, especially in the context of early years. Moyo suggests that attempting to define play is like attempting to seize bubbles. This suggests that the way play is defined and interpreted can influence the way it's implemented in practice. This disparity on definition made me consider play as a subjective concept, as it depends on a person's perception of its meaning. And since our perceptions come from our values within a specific culture, the concept of play, although being a universal human right, it should be considered in a cultural context. In this way, it's possible to step out of a personal frame of reference and enter the others, allowing the formation of new interpretation of experiences and using them as guidance for future actions. However, stepping out of one's frame of reference is risky, as it involves moving outside one's comfort zones, which requires courage. Courage is one of the requirements for practice suggested by McIntyre. However, neither the EYFS nor any of the 39 national teacher standards for early years mention courage as a requirement for practice. This is probably because those documents are not written by early years teachers, rather by the government, whose priority is to prepare children for the business and economy of society. This priority will therefore impact on practice, and again, if practice is viewed in terms of a socially established cooperative human activity, then practice can be perceived as a social construct, as the aspects of it, such as play, are controlled by social and cultural factors, which have the potential of influencing a person's value. However, since social constructs are seen as a two-parts relationship, then it could be said that cultures and society socially construct practice, rather than practice being a social construct. This way of seeing practice as a two-way relationship is what I realized my view on play to be, while I was analyzing where it came from. It's also reflected in Nordin's definition of care as a dynamic interaction between two individuals, where both parties give and gain in different ways and at different levels. This is because when adults and children play together, they can inspire one another, increasing their intrinsic motivation, which is the internal desire to do something, rather than coming from external pressures or rewards. In this respect, play can be seen as baking a cake, where each person adds ingredients to the bowl, which we then all mix together. However, in order to make the cake, a recipe has to be followed, which reduces the amount of autonomy and freedom in choosing the ingredients. In this case, the recipe can be compared to the EYFS, which sets out the learning outcomes and skills that children have to achieve by the age of 5. This focus on achievement, I believe, to act as a barrier for my professional identity as well as my practice. This is also shown in a UK study where practitioners felt undervalued and constrained in the way they practiced, and work seems to be having fun and focusing on a play-based program without actually realizing that having the freedom and autonomy to choose the ingredient for the cake increases the chances that it will lead to play. This is because it's not the activity itself that defines play, but it's how the activity makes us feel while doing it. This suggests a connection between education, society, practice, and cultures, with each aspect being indispensable for the connection to work effectively, but at the same time, each aspect have a different impact on play. This is why this connection differs in different countries depending on the government's priority. This also means that these aspects act as gatekeepers in terms of enabling or impeding the creation of a system that sees differences as strengths rather than weaknesses. So it's up to us to decide whether we want a society of strong people who can look beyond what's written on paper and don't be afraid of changes. Because sometimes it's only a matter of changing the lens. This is why I consider education as a kaleidoscope. Just a small shift and everything changes. Thank you.